Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, officially crazy, still crazy. Hello, my dear, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Zoe here, and yeah, coming out of my weird shell of the imaginary world I live in to exist apparently in Korea at the moment, but that's not so bad. Been there before, could do it again.
As I already said, she's smarter than anyone else. She found out how to survive this moment. Today, we are going to talk about the Korean movie called The Priests. And people, prepare to have your mind blown because this movie is amazing. Is everything that you want to watch in a movie about demonic possession, and it's so well done, so well filmed, so well crafted, because every time you think you know what's going on, you will find out you didn't get it. It's a movie based on the misunderstanding game. The characters you think are on our main character side, they aren't. The characters you think are against him, they in truth are on his side. And it's so well done. It's a game so complex and complicated, but at the same time so well done that in the end, all the pieces of this puzzle are put together beautifully. And this movie, like Zoe told me in the worst possible way, breaking my heart, doesn't have an happy ending. So it's not a movie with an happy ending. It's a movie with a huge sacrifice, but the sacrifice is done for the greatest good. It doesn't weigh down on the character who does the sacrifice because he is ready to do it. He is ready to see and to watch someone else carry on with his mission. And that's beautiful. Like many Asian movie, it's also a movie about loneliness. It shows us how alone people are in modern society. Even when they are among other people, they are alone. We are all alone. The main character is alone with his mission and with the knowledge of what his mission will demand from him. And that's not the sacrifice. He was ready to sacrifice himself. It's something else. It's something that will hit him on a deeper level. The younger priest, Choi, is alone with his guilt about something that happened when he was a child. Everyone is alone. And only when we finally realize that we can share our burdens with others, we stop to be alone. The movie opens with a beautiful scene filmed in Italy. So I was like, wait a moment, why people are talking in Italian in a Korean movie? This movie has something very fun in it. It's very rare to hear other people and other cultures talk about the Rosicrucianism. It's a cultural and mystical movement that was born in Europe in the late 16th century. People in Rome are called by who we will find out later was Father Kim, because a young girl is possessed by a demon, but not a normal demon. Father Kim thinks that the demon possessing the girl is one of the 12 representation of the devil. So something very powerful and something very wrong is going on in Korea. So he doesn't even ask to the Archdiocese of Seoul, and he sends his request to Rome, where the older priest gives us a different point of view on demonic possession. When the younger one asks him, Father, but why are they hiding in our world? What do they want? And the older priest answered him that they hide because if people knew about them, they would start to believe in God again. And this is a different point of view from what we are used to, because sometimes, usually, we are used to people claiming that if they believe in God, somehow they have to believe in the devil too, but that doesn't happen. This is a different starting point. If people knew about demons, they would believe in God all over again. And that's a very good start. So we see Father Kim arriving at the Archdiocese of Seoul, and we see many, many old priests and friars. And we feel there is a little bit of tension. People don't really like Father Kim. We can't point out who is on his side because apparently no one is. They are all worried about the scandal and about people finding out that they are allowing an exorcism to go on. And even the bishop tells him that officially he won't approve the exorcism. So he is alone. He will have some underground help, but nothing official. If he finds himself in trouble, he is alone. And that's how we are introduced to Deacon Choi, who will be his assistant and who is picked up between all the students of the seminary because apparently his date of birth is more important than anything else. And we see the dean of the seminary, when he finds out that Choi is the best choice, he's like, oh my God, why him? And so we think that the dean is on Father Kim's side, only to find out that no, he's not. And when during the meeting, the auxiliary bishop starts laughing on Father Kim's face when he claims that the demon possessing the girl is one of the 12 manifestations of the Rosicrucianism, we think, okay, that one is against him. And no, he is not. He is actually the only one on his side. And you are like, okay, you know what? I give up. I won't try to figure out anymore. I will watch the movie and I will enjoy it because it's so damn good.
Oh, goodness. This film is literally perfection. Now, I enjoy Korean cinema a lot. I used to live in Korea. I love some of the culture and I love their modern cinema. It's gorgeous. But it's even more spectacular because it's a wonderful piece of film. And I'm so surprised it hasn't got more praise in the West. This is the closest movie I've ever seen to both be inspired and be a homage to the original Exorcist and managed to update the Exorcist for a modern world, a modern telling of it, because it does have some of the tropes of the original Exorcist, like the older priest who's done exorcism before, and he's bringing on a younger student who's never done it before, and kind of like raising him up to be his protege. It has the possessed girl, and it has like all the structures, and then but it does something completely unique in its way. I mean, Korean cinema is got some of the best mise en scène and cinematography in any countries and any genres of cinema. It's just spectacular to watch. I just love its tones. I love the way it juxtaposes modern society with cultural beliefs, and it's always filmed with like there's so much details in the environment. Nothing feels like wasted. And this film is such a wonderful culture clash because it obviously is. It's dealing with the Catholic Church, but in Korea, and how that differs from the Korean more like shamanic beliefs. Like Catholicism and Christianity are the predominant religion in Korea. It took over once they opened the doors to the West, so there are now more Christians there. It started replacing like Buddhism, which is they were a Buddhist country, but after I think it was the Second World War and the occupation, once they got liberated by America, they wanted to feel closer to American culture, and so they took on a lot of elements of American culture. A lot of American business moved into Korea, and a lot of people started converting to Christianity. So there is quite a massive Christian population. There are a lot of big churches in Korea. And a lot of door to doors. Even when I was living on there, the priests would go. They come and knock door to door, going, "Have you found Jesus?" And I would always be like, "I'm from Britain. Don't worry, we've got the Church of England." And they're like, You want to come to our church?" I'm like, "No, I'm C of E." Like I cannot do anything but be Church of England. But even though I'm not religious, it was just such a I already had my cultural roots. But yeah, so it wasn't unfamiliar for me seeing the fact that this was a Catholic based story in Korea, but it was just how much of what you think of Catholicism and how it's represented in the Vatican and how it's represented in the West was accurately represented in this film. The robes, the teaching, the use of materials, and the film was so well researched. They researched the exorcism rite, they researched the terminology, they researched actual law. They used a demon that actually exists, and they also used a demon, and it be every bit as powerful as it was. I mean, it was like they took months to exorcise this girl, and this was kind of like the last hurrah to try and finally get it out of her. It was like this was not some small fry demon, and this was not just invoking Belial's name and killing it in a swimming pool. This was invoking a major player and showing that it's a major player. What makes this film has those Koreanisms is those moments of black humour and comedy. Like you always get them in Korean cinema. There's the way of talking and that little bit where you feel a bit guilty for laughing, but it's presented in a humorous manner. It's very sleek. It's very stylized. They tend to have a slightly more action based part of the film, even if it's not meant to be action. And obviously that's with Choi running free with Demon Piglet and things, and you just that thing was horrible and creepy, but you could see the power in it and how it was affecting the world in hoping to stop what was going on. I mean, also the demon in it is known as a demon of cats, so even before they said its name, I was like, that's that. I couldn't remember what it was called. I kept calling it Malbec, but I realized that Malbec is a really nice type of wine. But Malbec is the demon of cats, and because obviously cats just keep appearing and going to this girl, and you're like, why are there so many? And it's like, no, there is a demon that summoned cats. And yeah, I mean, and the actress playing the demonically possessed girl, phenomenal, absolutely. I mean, Koreans can act. They really can. There's such, just depth to their performances. The possession itself is so well done. The way she talks, contorts, the facial expressions. I mean, I love the fact that they also showed that there was a shaman rite going on, and the fact that the two religions aren't like, no, I can do it, I can't do it. They were like, okay, he let the shaman priest and priestess do her ritual first, then Kim came over and took over with his ritual, and there's no contention, and there's no it's just they all mutually want the same thing, so they didn't have to go through that whole fight of which one's right. It's not about which religion and which belief system is right or wrong or real. It's about what they can do for this girl. And I could talk for days on everything: acting, music, scoring, cinematography, pacing, giving enough of a tragic backstory to give Choi that element of something he had to overcome, but not oversaturating it with tragic backstory. You literally see just a couple of scenes, less than 5 minutes in the entire 2 hours is devoted, but it gives you all the feelings and all the understanding of where he's coming from. And it's just so good.
And about the acting skills of the girl, when she fell, when she throws herself from the window there, she landed on the car, and there is the camera showing us her eyes, and we see that's not the girl, that's the demon, and the demon is furious because he knows the girl trapped him. And even being so well done, so culturally perfect, it shows us how misogynistic Korean society is. Even the demon who is possessing the girl tells us that he needs a male body to get free because even the demon deems the girl unworthy of his power. And that's so beautiful. That's great. That shows us what Korean society thinks about the balance between men and women. There is no balance at all.
Yes, no.
The
When I,
men are in power and the girls should follow their lead. Period.
yes, when I was still living there, I found out that it was one of the only few, like, especially at non-Muslim countries, because I know they're very strict with their marriage rules, that um, in Korea, basically, if you're married, if the man has an affair, it's, they have it. Maybe there's more chance of getting a son. If a woman has an affair, it's a 2-year jail sentence. It is illegal for women to have extramarital affairs in Korea. It's very disrespectful to their male counterparts, and it's not a very even society. Obviously, males outnumber women 10 to 1 because they became illegal for doctors to tell people the sex of the babies because they were aborting all female babies. So you would find out you were pregnant. It turns out you were having a girl, then you'd get the abortion procedure. So there was obviously enough money past his hands a lot of the time, and doctors will be like, "Oh yes, I think you should buy something blue for your child." Or I think you should buy them something pink for your child became like the code words and stuff. So, like, even because I worked in the schools there, and yeah, boys outnumber the girls so insanely. I don't think they ever quite understand the fact that if you don't have any girls, how are you meant to repopulate? But yeah,
Yeah, that's a good question.
yes. So it's very, and it's a hard society for women to work in. They are second place to male society, and they're held in a certain like way. You've got to look and behave a certain way. Anything like a little bit different is seen as like unsightly and hidden away, which is true for a lot of Asian society from all my time spending out there, which is always a sad fact. But their cinema is pretty. But yeah, they know how to make movies, and yeah, all societies have problems. But it's what I find fascinating about the horror films from these cultures, how they reflect this. Like, there's always an underlying like idea that on the surface this film will be about something, but underneath it all there is still that element about how it's showing like social injustices and social messages about different like culture clashes and attitudes towards society and the place of like male and females. And I think this film did it well with this like little social commentary, along with its also like social commentary about like whether you should believe in the mythology of demonic possession or whether this guy is actually going around abusing people, because obviously we find out that Choi is tasked with monitoring Kim and reporting back so that they can finally have some proof that it's all a scandal, so they can put him in prison and act as a scapegoat, going, oh, he was a rogue mad priest. But at the same time, there are the ones within the like the system that are like, well, he's obviously doing a real job. They know there really are demons, but people are starting to find out about demons and they need to protect themselves. And it's weird because obviously, like, I remember in The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where they said that why her when she came from such a good home and stuff, and why did like God, the angels, not step in and help this girl with demonic possession? And it was like, no, she gave herself up as a willing sacrifice of demonic possession, because if they can prove that demons exist, then you can prove that God exists. And this obviously has elements of that again in it. But also, I like the idea that the demons are hiding, because if their existence is proven, and people will believe in God, and demons don't want people believing in God, going back to church, praying. The more of that sentiment, the more that people believe and have faith, the less power they'll have and the less ability they'll have to like manipulate. So the demons also don't want to be out in the open. They want to stay hidden. The church doesn't want them to be found, because while it may prove the existence of God, it will also like prove the existence of like evil and not people just won't believe it, and that will taint their reputation. And it's like, oh, there's so many of these little loops, which is interesting because obviously like Buddhism and the more like spiritual and like local like spiritualist religions and stuff are far more open about the existence of spirits and the spirit kind, and channeling the spirit kind, which is why it's so nice to see that there was shamanic representation in this. And there was, I don't know what they're called in Korea, I know in Japan they're called a fuda, but the talismans and the wards and stuff, and like, and also like the actual ritual performing arts that goes into kind of trying to summon something. And it was like, oh, it's nice to see that representation in here as well, and it also not be like, not treated as a joke and not treated as like, oh, it's not real, it's something being faked. It's like, no, both religions are equally valid, but again, it's what to do with this girl and the best situation. And then I've got to admit, the bit where Troy comes back and he's going to take part and he lights the incense. Oh, gorgeous filming, gorgeous scene, gorgeous music, gorgeous. Oh,
and it's perfect. It's a circular narration, very well done. Because at the beginning of the movie, we see the demon coming out from the fog after the accident, and in that scene, we see the demon emerging from the fog created by the incense used to call him out, and that's beautiful. I love how Father Kim compliments the shaman, calling him a very good one. So there is no competition between them. Sadly, Father Kim knows something that the shaman doesn't know, that the ritual will ask for the girl's sacrifice, because she's the only thing that is keeping the demon inside, so she must die so that the demon can be cast back into hell. And we know when a demon goes back to hell, they need time to come out again. And it's beautiful because Father Kim really loves the girl. He cares for her, even if he knows well why Choi was sent to him. It's not a surprise for him when he sees the camera, the small camera he's using to record him. And he's just a little bit disappointed that Choi made it so easy. But he already knew, like he knows that sadly he will have to kill the girl, because the girl can't walk free from this madness, even if in the end we have the hope that at least she survived, because when they are on the ambulance and we see her fingers grab her mother's hand, so perhaps in the end she was saved, who knows. But yes, it was an amazing movie, and it's a little bit curious that they choose the Rosicrucianism to explain on which faction of the church Father Kim belongs, because Rosicrucianism is a very controversial matter inside the Catholic Church. Many think it's a fake, but it was also treated like an heresy. Yeah, so it's very interesting that they picked up the most controversial ritualism and movement to make this amazing movie. And as you said, it was perfect the way the different rituals and culture mixed together. It feels natural even for me, who don't have experience with Korean culture, who don't have any experience with shamanism. It feels natural watching it on screen, watching the first ritual taking action before the exorcism. It feels natural. The moment they meet, they look like old friends. There is no competition between them. There is a lot of understanding in those characters meeting. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I love how they choose such a powerful demon. I mean, the demon they choose, he answers directly to Satan. There is no other interaction between him and someone else to talk to their leader. Satan speaks to him. He gives him orders directly. That's the reason why to exercise him took so much time, and it required such a sacrifice at the end. And very well done, amazingly done. The moment we see, as you say, the moment we see Choi really coming into himself, into the man he will be from that moment on, so beautiful. It's like, wow, mind blowing.
Yeah. No, and I've got to say, kudos to the heart racing score and just the tension you feel in those last minutes when he's got to get to running water. He's got to get to a river, and you're just like, please, please, and it's like, oh goodness, you're hit by a car, a power line's going down. And it's just like, and the chaos that's being created because there's an evil in the world, and he's got to try and drown it, is amazing. And then at the same time, you've got Kim is being taken away because the police have been called on him, and he's now the scapegoat, and they believe he's the murderer. And you're just like, oh, which the demon even said, 4 days from now you'll be in prison. And it's just like, and he doesn't mind, he doesn't care that he'll go to prison as long as he can save the soul of this girl. And he does, he achieves the mission he was set to do, and he knows that Troy will pick up the mantle.
And unlike many other movies that really don't have a closure because the people making them don't know how to actually make a closure that makes sense, this one makes sense because the demon is defeated, not destroyed, defeated the moment in which his power is split between the piglet and Choi. When you have to possess more than one thing at the same time, your power falters because, of course, you need more concentration. It's like your whole body is split in two. And that's the moment Father Choi decides to jump to defeat the demon, because it's the moment the demon is at its weakest point. And that makes sense. The running water, the demon trying to pass from one possessed thing to the man he really wants, but he's still not there yet. And that's the moment Choi finally defeats the demon, at least for now, because Father Kim tells him something very important. You will be haunted all your life long if you do this. So we know, like Father Marin was haunted by Pazuzu all his life long, Choi will be probably haunted.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. That's perfect. And I loved it.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. Like special effects wise, it's like they're subtle but really powerful. The practical effects and the makeup is gorgeous and well done. Again, it's that less is more. You don't ever see a demon. You don't ever see coils of evil CGI smoke. You just see little bits of it, and even bits like when all the insects are coming. I think, oh, that was horrible. I don't like insects the best of time. Bugs all coming because decay and evil is upon us, and it's just like, it just knew. It knew its history, it knew its culture, it knew the religion. It's like they really went out of their way to well research this and to make sure there weren't plot holes, and it wasn't just oh look, there's some weird symbols. I'm like, those are runes. They're written in Latin. No, they're not. They're runes. Like the movies that just go, oh, it's a Ouija board, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it came from China. No, it didn't. They don't have Ouija boards in China. They have different things. They're not called Ouija boards. They wouldn't have Western letters on them. This one took its time to realise the full breadth of what it was doing and what it was trying to convey, and it left the ending a little open for it to be like he can continue this journey Like, there is still a chance that Kim can get out of prison if the girl doesn't die. And, like, oh, there's a chance that, just like in the Exorcist TV show, they go on the run and continue doing what they're doing. I mean, I love the bit when in Soul the guy's like, it's like, officially there is no exorcism, officially, but basically like saying like, yes, go and do it. Do understand that officially I'm going to say that it's not happening, but I totally give you my blessing to go and do this. And it's just like, oh,
And the soundtrack is perfect. People finally can speak Latin when they need to, but there is one thing that made me really see how well the researches were done for this movie is that the moment Choi makes the CD starts and we hear this beautiful religious music, filling the silence of the room and leaving the room to reach outside and to reach the sky. We think the moment before all the cats and the bugs start crawling into the room. Uh, for me, that's the moment that made it very clear they really studied for this, because one of the fathers of the church said once that who sings for the God's blessing prays twice. So music is so important for the Catholic Church, and is so important for an exorcism to really go well, that yes, that showed me how much they researched.
and also Troy has a beautiful voice.
Wow, yes, it does.
Yeah. I mean, it was so amazing how effortlessly they went from talking Korean to talking Italian to talking like Latin. And I'm just like, Korean's a hard language to talk, like to speak. Like I used to be able to speak it better than I do now. I've lost most of it, but as especially with a very thick British accent to enunciate Korean words, it's quite difficult. Um, so it's a very different way of pronouncing words and a very different way of positioning your tongue. But all the actors, whenever they spoke in Italian, to me it just sounded so effortless.
Yeah, almost effortless. And wow, compliment. And their Latin, it blows my mind how without accent their Latin is. It's almost perfect. And you know how much I bitch about Americans trying to speak Latin. So yeah, it was a pleasant surprise.
Yes. I think, yeah, this film is literally perfection. I don't know how we're ever going to top this movie because it just blew my mind. And I'm so shocked that it isn't bigger known in the West. Like, this should be a film that, like, everyone should see.
Well, to tell you how how little this movie is known in the West, to find a copy with English subtitles, it was so hard that I only got one because Zoe landed it to me. Because the first time I looked for this movie, I only found the original version without subtitles. Then I ended up looking it in Indonesian the first time I tried to watch it before Zoe came and saved me. And then finally, she gave me the version with the English subtitles that was almost impossible to find. We really don't understand why it was so hard, because the movie is perfect and it would be liked by European and American audience. And yet, no distribution, I think.
No,
That's stupid.
it's stupid. It's one of the best films I've seen in years.
Indeed. Stupid people are stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, if Zai doesn't have anything else to add,
don't think so.
thank you for listening, people. And we hope you will find a copy to watch with English subtitles. Otherwise, ask us, because really, this movie is worth to be watched and to be understood.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get almost anything of the Indonesian version, but sometimes they use Spanish words, so something I got. Nothing during the dialogues between the two priests, nothing at all. But hey, at least I had an idea of what I was watching. Really, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode and see you next time. Bye bye.
As always, it's a pleasure. But this week, oh, such a pleasure. Watching this perfection was just amazing. I hope everyone watches it. I hope everyone enjoys it as much as we did, because this is definitely a must see film. So for now, bye byes.